McKenna, and today I'm going to be watching the top 10 scariest movies of all time and reviewing them for you guys. I don't know what the point of this video is, I just wanted an excuse to watch these movies. But if you know me, you know I love all things spooky, horror movies, haunted houses, Halloween, ghosts, witches, ghost hunting, all of the things. I love all the spooky things. I found a list of the top 10 scariest movies and I am going to watch them and kind of like rate them, tell you how scary they are. If you're asking, McKenna, why are you qualified to do this? Let me tell you why I'm qualified to do this. Well, there are a few reasons. One of them being that I'm a film major, so I'm literally in school right now learning how to like analyze film. Also, horror movies are my favorite genre, so I have seen a lot of horror movies, so I will have a lot to compare these to. I have seen a handful of these, but then there's also a few that I have never seen. So I think I'm gonna watch these and save the scariest ones for last, which means that it is the first movie we're gonna be watching. Okay, I've made it to my living room. I feel like this angle is really creepy because I'm sitting on the floor and you're like towering over me, but it adds to the spooky vibes. I'm about to watch It. I have seen this movie a lot of times. Yeah, I also own it, so I don't have to like rent it or use any streaming service. I own it. I also own all three of them, Chapter 2 and the miniseries from the 90s. So, not to brag, but I'm pretty cool. I've seen this movie a lot of times, which isn't great for this video because I could probably quote it directly from memory. Like, I can anticipate the jump scares and stuff like that. I do remember the first time I watched it, and I will keep that in mind when I give you my little, like, review or whatever. I'm gonna stop talking because I'm rambling about nonsense. I turned off my light, by the way. It was obstructing my vision. This is always one of the creepiest scenes to me with Ben in the library, that whole thing. This is another scene that was really scary the first time I watched it. It is still pretty spooky. The projector scene in Bill's garage. That is so scary. Okay, so personally, for my personal taste, I am not afraid of clowns. If you're afraid of clowns, you will probably find this really scary. This movie also, it has its fair share of jump scares, but they're not really bad. Like, the jump scares aren't super bad. Yeah, the few scenes that I pointed out while I was watching, those were the scariest to me. I remember when I watched it for the first time, those were like the scariest. Yeah, I feel like for my personal taste, because I'm not afraid of clowns, I would give this like a 4 on the fear scale. But if you are afraid of clowns, this would probably be like a 7 or an 8 because the whole thing is about a clown. The next movie is Insidious, which came out in 2010, and I have seen this movie before, but it's been a really long time since I've seen it because, fun fact, this was actually the very first horror movie that I've ever seen in my entire life. I remember watching this and it was traumatizing. It has been a good at least 6 years since I've seen this. It's probably been closer to like 7 or 8 years since I've seen it. That was a lot. I feel like the biggest difference between this one and It, watching them back to back, It for me is more like creepy and like spooky and just like unsettling rather than scary. This movie was scary. I think there were about like 10 or 15 times that I almost had a heart attack. I would say this for like scary factor is getting a 7.5. I don't know, maybe an 8. I don't know. It's up there just because of the jump scares. I would say for me personally, I do think that this one was scarier than It. But I will say that I'm filming this video. I'm giving myself like a few weeks to film this video so that I don't have to watch all 10 movies all at once. So this video is going to be kind of filmed like sporadic. These are the 2 movies that I'm watching today, but I will see y'all in a few days to watch some more. Alrighty guys, another day, another movie. I've made it onto the couch now. I'm not sitting on the floor anymore. On to our next movie, which is number 8, Sinister. This movie I've never heard of and never seen, obviously. But it came out in 2012. I have no idea what to expect, but apparently this movie's pretty scary. I'm gonna close the blinds, it needs to be darker. Oh. Oh my god. I hate this movie, this is so scary. I love it, but I hate it at the same time. I just had to open the blinds. That's how you know it's getting spooky, because I needed some light in here. Okay, first of all, the sun decided to come out again. I had the blinds closed, so it was like spooky, but now it's like a little too sunny. That was a really good movie. That was terrifying. I think that deserves to be higher up in the list, personally. It's honestly been a really long time since I've been like genuinely scared of a horror movie, and that movie spooked me. I had to change the battery in my camera, so if it like moved a little bit, that's why. That's probably gonna bother me, but it's fine. If I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't really understand the ending, but that was the only thing. I'm totally at peace with not understanding it though. I think that the movie itself makes up for having like kind of a confusing ending. I honestly am gonna give that like a 9.5 out of 10 on the scare scale. I don't want to give it a 10 just because I haven't seen all the movies on the list yet, but I really think that that one needs to be higher up. Next movie, number 7 on the list, is Halloween. John Carpenter, Jamie Lee Curtis, amazing classic 1970s slasher film. I love this movie. I own it. That's how you know. That's how you know that I like it, if I own it on DVD. I've seen this movie maybe 5 times. Not enough to like be able to quote it from memory, but enough to know what happens. Oh, that music, it gets me in the Halloween spirit. I will say that the sound effects of this movie are a little cheesy, but I mean it was the 70s, so I don't remember that happening. That's a good movie. For me personally, compared to all of the other movies that I've watched so far, I would not say that this is the scariest that I've watched for this video, partially because of the fact that it's so old, so I feel like it doesn't scare people as much. If I was putting myself into the shoes of somebody who was watching this right when it came out, like if I was a teenager in the 70s when this movie came out, this would be terrifying. But compared to Sinister, since I just watched that movie, I think that this one deserves to be on the list, but should be a little bit further down. So I'm gonna give this one like a 6 on the scare scale. It's still pretty spooky, even though it's so dated. It's a classic Halloween scary horror movie. Okay guys, I'm back. We are on to movie number 6, which is The Ring. I have heard of this movie. I've heard really good things about this movie, but I have never seen it. Okay, I feel like I need some light in here. I feel like that's ugly light though. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that movie. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't know if I'd call that a horror movie. I don't know. Like the first 10 minutes of it and the last 10 minutes of it were scary, but everything in between was more of like crime investigation. I mean, there were like a few jump scares and stuff, but like the first 10 minutes were the scariest part. It was a good movie. I think that the concept of it was really interesting. I'm gonna give it a 5 on our scare scale. It wasn't a super scary movie to me personally. That's just me. The next movie, number 5, are we halfway through the list? We're officially halfway through the list. Movie number 5 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which has been on my watch list for years. I'm excited to watch this one. Okay, now I feel like I need to turn off the lights again. Oh, I forgot I had an orange light bulb in there. That's spooky. Girl, you just ran into his house. Oh my god, okay. I feel like the best way to describe that movie would be disturbing. I guess, like, that was disgusting. Towards the beginning, I was like, okay, this is just gonna be some like cheesy 70s slasher movie. But it was honestly pretty good. It was better than I was expecting. It's a fairly short movie. It's not even an hour and a half long. So it definitely wasn't boring at all. Like they didn't draw anything out. Like pretty much within like the first 20 minutes, people are dying. Okay, I'll give it like a 7.5 on the scare scale. For when it came out and what it is about and stuff like that, it's pretty scary. It's very like in the middle. I have very like mediocre feelings about it. Like it was pretty good. Wasn't the best movie I've ever seen, but still deserves some credit because it's pretty good. Next movie is probably my favorite on this list out of the ones that I've already seen. The Shining. I love this movie. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm a huge fan of Jack Nicholson. I'm a huge fan of Stanley Kubrick. I love Stanley Kubrick. And I love any adaptation of Stephen King. And my neighbors are like, I don't know what they're doing. See, that music is just so creepy. I love it.
Red rum! Red rum! Red rum! Here's Johnny!
I love this movie. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. I forgot to mention that this is also another one that I own. I love it. It's one of those movies where like just watching it is creepy. Even if you've seen it a million times and know what happens, it's still creepy. I'm gonna give it like an 8.5 on the scare scale, I think. If you have never seen this movie, please watch it because it's amazing. Everybody needs to experience seeing it at least once. We are nearing the end of the list. We're on movie number 3, which is The Conjuring. I have seen this movie before, but I've only seen it once, and I watched it for the first time like a year ago, maybe. So it's not very fresh in my head. I know the general gist of what happens, but I do remember thinking that it was really good the first time I watched it, so I'm excited to watch it again. That's a good movie. I feel like every time after I watch these, I have to like take a deep breath. This movie, pretty spooky. I'm gonna give it a solid 9 on the scare scale. It's just scary. Lots of jump scares. Solid horror movie. Rightfully placed in the list, I feel, because it's pretty spooky. The next movie is Hereditary, which I have never seen before, but I've heard really good things about it, so I'm very excited to watch it. I don't really know what this is about, but I want to be surprised, so I'm not gonna read like the little synopsis summary or anything. That scared me. Okay, I have thoughts. It was a really good movie. Pretty scary. Was this the scariest movie that I've ever seen in my life? No. I still honestly think the scariest movie on this list is Sinister. I cannot get over that movie. That movie was terrifying. But I'm gonna talk about Hereditary for a second. The first half of the movie was kind of confusing. I didn't really like understand what was going on. And I did end up reading the summary because like 30 minutes in, I was like, okay, what is going on? I literally do not understand what is happening. So I read it and then I was like, okay, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. But still, like, I didn't understand really what was going on until like the last 20 minutes, which I sometimes like those kind of movies that are like confusing and you can kind of like come up with your own meaning behind it. But then also I'm like the first part of it, I like literally did not even understand what was going on. It's a really well-made movie. Like, the film student in me can appreciate like the technique and stuff that went into making this movie. Like, it is very well made, but it wasn't scary until like the last half of it. I think it deserves to be on the list. I don't know, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10. We have finally made it to movie number 1 on the list, which is The Exorcist. This is such an iconic movie. It's so good. I have seen this one. I don't remember that ever happening. We have finally finished the list. I've watched all 10 movies and I don't know how to feel about it. This movie is very scary. Again, it's a little dated, so like some of the effects and some of the stuff isn't super realistic, but for the time that it came out, honestly, it's pretty good. I'm kind of torn with like some of the older movies because like if you keep in mind like when they came out and things like that, they're really good, but like compared to some of the other ones on the list that are more current, I don't know how to like compare them. But this movie is really scary. I'm gonna give this one another 8. It's also just really good. It's like iconic. It's been a little bit. I've had time to think about all the movies that I've watched. I haven't gone back and like rewatched the video and checked all my ratings and stuff to like actually put them in the order of how scary I rated them or whatever. But I think just looking back at the list, I think I agree with the list, except I would push them all down a number and move Sinister up to number 1. And I would move The Ring down to like number number 9. Sinister was terrifying. Like, that movie was actually terrifying, and I think I want to retract my rating of Hereditary. I think I'm gonna give that a 9. And I moved The Ring down because, I don't know, I didn't find that movie scary. There was like 20 minutes of the movie where I was like a little spooked, but the rest of it like wasn't scary. The plot of that movie had a lot more potential to be really, really scary. They could have had the same story but showed it in a different way to make it scarier. Do you know what I mean? If you have any movie recommendations for me, leave them in the comments. I love getting movie recommendations and giving movie recommendations. It's like my favorite thing. So if you have any movie recommendations, comment them. Also, if you want to follow my Letterboxd, I think it's in the description, but my username is just my name, mikinnaandel. So follow me on Letterboxd. This video was so much fun to film. I hope you guys enjoyed. This video is kind of different. I don't think I've ever really done anything like this. I hope you guys enjoyed. I feel like I need to change up my outro. I was just talking to somebody about that. I think I was talking to my mom about it. I have had the same outro for like 7 years. I feel like I need to change it, but I don't know what else to do. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe. Bye. Love you.